What's going on, Odds Squad? It's the crew, it's the dudes from Odds HQ and odds.com. And we got another card to break down. It's Friday night. It's UFC Vegas 13, a real banger of an event. Some good spots. Let's try to make that money. Let me throw it around the horn, see how the guys are doing on this Friday night. MMA Prediction Guru, what up?
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah, this is a great card, man. I really like the main event. I feel like it could be, one of the fights of the year. So excited to break it down.
Definitely. Lock of the night. How you doing?
I'm good. Ready for round two. Round one went pretty well based on the reception that I got. So let's do it again. I can't wait to get more comfortable in the seat with you guys.
You know it, man. And Cody Saftik, what's going on, man?
Happy to be here. Last week seemed super straightforward, and for the most part, outside of Bobby Green, it played out pretty straightforward. This week seems a little trickier, so I'm really glad to be joined by my favorite gang, which is the Odd Squad, to help me out with this, and let's figure out the best picks for this weekend.
I'm with you, man. We got some spots on this one, don't we? So, first fight of the evening is Gustavo Lopez versus Anthony Burchak. We got a late replacement here. Guru, can you do us the honors this evening?
Yeah, man, I'm going to need you guys to help me out a little bit on this one, too, because I didn't look too much into it. But, I remember Anthony Burchak from back in the day, and he's, a decent striker, but a pretty hittable guy. And then it seems like he's been doing a lot of jiu-jitsu lately. He just got his black belt for 10th Planet, and he's gotten a few submissions. But I don't know. I feel like Lopez he's not that good, but I do think he's maybe the better striker at range and the more powerful guy. So I feel like his scrambling ability might be good enough to, get back to his feet if Burchak takes him down, maybe avoid some takedowns, and he could maybe get a knockout or a decision win. So I'm going to go with Lopez, but like I said, didn't look too much into this one.
Sure. Locke, how you feel about this one?
First of all, I'm happy that Burchak's back in the UFC. It's kind of weird that he got taken out of the UFC after coming off a win. Maybe Cody can help us out in terms of what happened there exactly. But that's a tough stretch that you have to go on after the UFC too. Tetsuya Kawajiri is a phenomenal veteran. I love that guy. I've been watching him for a long, long time. So that was a tough one to get on your first one on the way out of the UFC. And then he had two more losses. The Moon one was interesting because that was where the Risen scoring system really came into play. Because the first two rounds, in my books, he clearly won those first two rounds. And then in the third round, he looked so labored, so gassed out. And that's where Moon was really able to put it on him. The guy was throwing spinning shit, and he just looked like the more confident one. He didn't really blow out Burchak or anything in that third round or anything like that. But they still ended up giving the decision to Moon. It was a split decision. But again, that's Risen rules for you, Pride rules for you. Burchak could probably get a W in that if it was in the UFC. And then he goes over there and Combate and LFA gets pretty easy wins, first round victories, but it's really when he gets dragged into later in the fight, the second and third rounds, where you start to see him slow a little bit, start to question himself a little bit. And that's where I think where like the unbreakable will of Gustavo Lopez comes in. And that's such a weird like trait to say for a fighter, especially when we're looking at X's and O's of these fighters. But Gustavo Lopez is like, I hate to call it, but like he's like one of those like durable Mexican guys that's really in there to fight and like is happy fighting. Like you'll see most of his fights, he's smiling at his opponent. Nothing would piss me off more than my opponent smiling at me after I threw a 1-2 and an uppercut behind her or something like that. So I like his durability. I like his cardio. I do think Lopez does have the advantage on the feet. It's either Burchak early or Lopez late. And we even see the odds switch on this. I think Lopez opened up at plus 120. Now he's the slight favorite. And I think people are seeing what most people are seeing is that Lopez is just the more durable guy, the better cardio, better stand-up, and good enough wrestling to be able to probably keep this fight on the feet. So I'm going with Lopez by decision. But I'm just glad to see Burchak back in the UFC. I'm not sure why I have a fascination with that dude, but I'm glad that he's back in the UFC. But I think Lopez is going to give him that L on his way back to the UFC.
There you go. Cody Saftik, how do you see it?
Yeah, I'm kind of flip-flopping back and forth on this one myself, but I think it comes down to dog or pass. When they opened up the line, Anthony Burchak was the favorite, and at that rate, you can start to definitely look at Lopez. Oh, geez, he's younger. Burchak's 34, coming back to the UFC, short notice. And I think just like my man Locke said, it's something about the will. Like, it's not even just that Lopez has got this will to continue going on. It's that Burchak faces adversity, and then he usually kind of folds up a little bit. What I'm worried about is the first two rounds in specific, because Anthony Burchak not only is a BJJ black belt, was just recently awarded under the 10th Planet system. He is a good grappler, but he's also a guy that wrestled collegiately at the Arizona State University. He's on the same team as CB Dalloway, Ryan Bader, John Moraga, Cain Velasquez. Those guys all wrestle at the same time. and he's made a good transition in. So when I look at Gustavo Lopez, so problem A, and he fight Merab Dvalishvili, so let's at least cut him a little bit of credit. But giving up 13 takedowns on 18 attempts, it's like when Merab wanted to get him down, he was able to get him down. The problem with Merab Dvalishvili, he's not really known for his top game. He's not really known for his top pressure. More than one of these guys that just keeps taking you down, grinds you, hits you, lets you get back up, takes you back down. Birchak takes you down. He doesn't need to take you down 13 times. He's a much better grappler. Like, you don't want to end up on the bottom with this guy on top of you. The other problem is that Merab Dvalishvili racked up over 9 minutes of top control through 15 minutes of fighting Gustavo Lopez. So again, against Merab, who's always letting these guys back up, he generally did have him down. And then the last stat that's actually super, fascinating. Anyways, when you rewatch Gustavo Lopez versus Merab, it's like, oh, Gustavo has some spots. Like, oh, he's throwing some punches. He lands 4 strikes in the first round. He lands 5 strikes in the second round. He lands 5 strikes in the third round. Now, yes, part of that is because he's worried about the takedowns and he is getting taken down and Merab gives no space. But part of that is even when he did have open space in there, he was worried to let his hands go. He doesn't have some debilitating knockout power that he's just going to go out there and knock Birchak out clean. So I honestly think Anthony Birchak probably goes up 2 rounds, and then if he fades out in the third, he just has to survive. He's going to pick up a decision. If he's dog money, I'm going to lean towards Anthony Birchak dog money. When it opened up and it was Gustavo Lopez dog money, yeah, I would have leaned towards Gustavo Lopez dog money as well. If you watch Dogger Pass podcast, I didn't have a line. I lined it slight favorite Anthony Birchak, and it would be a good bet to fade Anthony Birchak. And that's what it opened up as. And unfortunately, Birchak's the underdog now, and I'm rewatching a lot of tape. I'm thinking, you know what? Wrestling's the key. And sorry, I know I ramble a lot, but the very last thing I want to throw on this is Gustavo Lopez is 31 years old. So it's not as if he's going to get leaps and bounds better. What you saw last time out is refined version of himself. He's not going to suddenly get much better on his takedown defense. His striking is not all of a sudden going to get much better. His cardio is not going to all of a sudden get much better. He's not some young prospect making improvements. That's who he is. He was brought in to lose to Dvalishvili. He did lose to Dvalishvili. What does he do beyond this? I don't know. But Birchak is a live dog here.
Sure. Yeah, well, I think you guys broke this fight down really well, short notice fight, Birchak, an older guy, I want to say 34 years old. Gustavo Lopez, no spring chicken either, but I feel like in the stand-up department, Lopez is probably going to have the slight edge, takedowns and grappling, top pressure wrestling. It's going to be Birchak all the way. We've talked about the gas tank issues. I lean ever so slightly Lopez, probably just because he's the guy who's known he's had a fight coming up. Birchak taking this fight on probably 4 or 5 days notice tops. So I'm going to go Lopez, but this fight screams pass to me. Absolutely. First fight of the night. We got far better spots on this card. It's going to be a big solid pass for me. But as far as making the pick, give me Lopez. So second fight of the night, another very interesting one, and one that I can't wait to hear you guys' opinions and breakdowns on. Max Griffin going up against Ramiz Brahimaj Lock. Can you get us started here?
Man, it's so tough for me to truly cap Max Griffin fights. I don't know what it is about him and his style. Like, he always has close fights with guys that he's trying to have close fights with, and then goes out there and beats the breaks off of guys that he shouldn't. What Brahimaj, though, on the other end, I love the fact that he's over there at Fortis MMA. That's something that you guys are going to come to know me for. Like, the longer you watch this podcast or even watch my podcast itself, I love guys from Fortis MMA. I think with the way that Saif Saud is approaching his fighters is probably the best way to go about it. And we're getting another guy here, and Brahimaj, who actually deserves to be in the UFC just based off of his style alone. He's a fun fighter. I think he's going to be one of those fighters that come into the UFC and may not always get the victory, but might just linger in that top 20 range to be an entertaining guy, to go out there and have guaranteed fireworks pretty much anytime it comes out there. And then Griffin is kind of that guy that like fights to his opponent's level, in my opinion. But I really can't get a feel on this fight. I did lean Griffin earlier in the week. As the week has gone on, I'm kind of going on the Brahimaj side, but I still don't have enough confidence on either side to really put the money. Obviously, I'm not going to bet Max Griffin at that minus 150, minus 160 line that he's currently at. Minus 130. Wow, it's actually come down a lot. So there is definitely some Ramiz money come in, and it makes absolute sense. The guy goes out there and he's kind of like a, get the finish or just lose by decision because he's, emptying the tank in the first round or two. I think that's not the way for him to go in this fight against Griffin, because in my opinion, Griffin's quite durable, and you could make a case that he won that the Alex Cowboy Oliveira fight. If it wasn't for that big ass cut that he got in his head, he probably would have gotten the W there. But Man, it's so tough. I'm gonna actually go with Griffin here. I think he survives the onslaught that Brahimaj brings on him in the first round or two. But this is a fight that I personally, I'm just gonna sit back and watch and see what kind of Brahimaj we're getting to, because this guy's been off for over a year and a half now too. That's something that we have to keep in mind. He was scheduled to fight Miguel Baeza, I believe, on the Contender Series. Then he was scheduled to fight Sato back in June. I think his cornerman test positive. Now he comes back against Max Griffin. In my opinion, overall is a harder fight than Sato. So I don't know what we're going to get from Brahimaj. I do lean Griffin, though. I think he takes this late, maybe third round or even a decision. But I'm going to sit back, man. I'm not bothering with this fight. I want to see what Brahimaj has to bring to the table, especially in his UFC debut. So yeah, I'll go with Griffin via decision, but not the best read here.
Oh, I feel you there, man. Cody Saftik, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I'm going with Brahimaj. I think he's another one of these guys that you would consider a live underdog. And so when you talk about the fact that he's been on for 19 months, again, it's like, oh no, that's not good. Making his UFC debut, long layoff. One, he was already signed to the organization. So that means, ultra motivated to make that UFC debut. Let's get going. The other thing is, last time you saw him, he's 25 years old. Last time he's lost a fight, he was 24 years old. That I love, just the improvement that any fighter is going to make between 24 and 27 is going to be huge. This guy already looked not so bad to begin with. Good. The way to beat Max Griffin is don't hang and try to just strike with this guy for the entire time, because yeah, he is long. He's got a good jab. He likes to strike from the outside. You need to pressure this guy and hopefully take him down. I think that he can do exactly that if he's made those improvements. And like Locke's saying, you know what? He's at a really good gym at Fortis MMA. The whole gym looks like they're making improvements. Why is there any reason to believe that this kid wouldn't have made those improvements? Now you look at Max Griffin. Max Griffin's got 9 fights in the UFC. He holds a record of 3 wins and 6 losses in the UFC. Now, mind you, those 3 wins against the Zelim Imadaev, he's the underdog. A nice little win for him. And against Mike Perry, he was plus 250 against Mike Perry. Nice little underdog win. And his win over Eric Montano. Yes, Eric Montano, the lesser talented brother of the no talent Augusto Montano. He was actually a minus 145 favorite over him. That was his second fight in the UFC. What I'm saying is that you don't bet Max Griffin as a favorite. You just don't, because he's in close fights. He's kind of like a Bobby Green, whereas if he is going to win, they're close. And if he's going to lose, also close. I know people say he's got durability issues, but he's been to decision his last 7 fights. So I don't think he's got durability issues. It's that they're mostly going to decision and they're close. And against a young Brahimaj, you know what? I'm getting dog money on him. I'm expecting natural improvements out of this guy. He already looked not bad. His skill set, which is take the guy down and try to submit him, I don't know if he submits Griffin. But what I need him to do is use that game plan of grind this guy and take him down for at least 2 rounds. And then again, just like we broke in the first fight, if you can win the first 2 rounds and survive, you're going to win the fight. And against Griffin, in third round, he's tired a lot of the time as well. His cardio is not specifically great. He's 34 years old. He's one of these guys that I don't expect any improvements out of. What you tape studied off Max Griffin his last 3 fights is what you're going to get here. And the guy losing to Alex Morono 2 fights back doesn't exactly spark your interest as a minus 195 favorite. Oh, but then money immediately goes against him because he shouldn't be a minus 195 favorite. And now, rightfully so, he's probably a slight favorite, which he is, minus 130. And at that, I'm still going to hit that dogger pass. So I'm not the most confident guy in the world about it, because I'm capping Brahimaj more so on the speculation that he probably made improvements. I haven't seen them because he hasn't fought in 19 months. So that, therefore, you can't be super confident in it. But I would say it's another dogger pass situation, and I'll take Ramiz.
There you go. Makes sense. Guru, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Cody. I'm going to go with Brahimaj here. And just to talk about a couple things, I mean, when you look at Max Griffin's career, he's fought almost all strikers recently. And like the one fight he did fight a grappler, I mean, it was Colby Covington. It was a, dominant win, a finish for Colby. And when you look at a lot of his fights, even with grapplers, guys that aren't known to be good wrestlers, he's getting taken down in those fights. Like Alex Morono took him down. Even Curtis Melender took him down in a fight, which, I mean, that's not very good, man. So, I mean, if Curtis Melender can take you down, and then I think Ramiz Brahimaj is going to be able to take you down. So he's going to be active. He's going to be looking for the takedown. If he does slow down, I mean, Max Griffin is notorious for slowing down too. So I don't think it's like Griffin's going to be super fresh and like knock him out in the 3rd round or anything. So I'm actually going to say, watching that, I mean, he's probably better now because that was a long time ago when he fought Colby. But, I mean, he was giving up the back. He was giving up the mount like pretty easily. So I think that, I mean, Brahimaj does have a chance to submit him here. And I'm going to say he'll get a 1st or 2nd round submission. But even if he doesn't, I think he'll be able to win those first 2 rounds and get a decision. So I'm going to go with Brahimaj here.
Yeah, boy, I tell you guys what, this was the fight here that I've just been back and forth on. thought about going with Brahimaj earlier in the week, as the big plus dog money. And man, after listening to your guys' arguments, kind of wish I had. But all in all, I'm going to end up picking Max Griffin. And let me tell you guys why. So, Guru, you brought up the point, man. Max really has not gone up against a grappler of this magnitude. Ramiz, that's what this guy does. 10 career fights, 8 wins, 2 losses. Those 8 wins, he found the sub. He finished those fights. Here's the deal, though, man. Those 2 fights that he didn't find the sub, he went on to lose those decisions. I mean, from a mathematical standpoint here, which don't get me wrong, we're talking, majority not UFC level talent, but the guys he's losing to, I don't think are, much beyond if even at the Max Griffin level. He's a young dude. He's going to be growing, though. Real tough fight to call. I feel like if you were going to take Ramiz, you probably wanted him at that good opening line. Now the spot might be Max, but this is just a tough fight to call. I'm going to pick Max Griffin. I feel like he probably is going to be able to stay out of the submission range. He's only been submitted 1 time in his career. But like we said, man, this kid, you watch the tape, good takedowns, real sneaky, real fast in transition. Wouldn't surprise me one bit if Brahimaj finds this sub in this spot. Albeit I'm going to take Max, but again, a super, super low confidence pick. And again, a total pass. I promise you guys, we got good spots coming up. These first two fights, a little dicey for me though. All right. Third fight of that. We got Darren Elkins going up against Eduardo Garagori. I feel pretty good about this one. Cody Safdie, why don't you get us going here?
Yeah, so I feel great about this one, but is this a trap? Is it a trap line where you love Darren Elkins and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you got Darren Elkins on a bunch of your lineups this weekend and 4-fight losing streak, fought the best guys in the sport twice over. I mean, we all know about his veteranship, but he's really slow at this point. And, that durability that is still legendary, like at some point the damage catches up with him. We got to rely on him just going to the wrestling. Like, screw the standing up and striking. And mind you, Darren Elkins has made improvements to his stand-up game. He throws a decent right hand. He likes to jab his way to the inside. He doesn't mind standing there and throwing shot for shot because, he can take a good punch. He's a durable guy, old Indiana boy. But man, at the end of the day, like I don't know for sure that he goes out there and doesn't just have one of these fight of the night type performances instead of just go to your wrestling over and over. Because Garagori shouldn't have been signed to the UFC in the first place. Yes, he was undefeated, but just on a very soft regional scene, he hadn't really proved himself. They signed him to the UFC to fight Humberto Bandenay. It's tailor-made for him to win. He's from Uruguay. It's the first time the UFC's been to Uruguay. They need a guy that's local. They put him on the main card. Perfect. It makes sense. They give him the most winnable fight for him in the UFC. He wins that fight. Humberto Bandenay has since been released from the organization. Clearly didn't perform overly well. And then that's the story of Garagori. Then he gets a Ricardo Ramos fight. And that's what gives Darren Elkins bettors obviously a lot of confidence here, is that he got dumped relatively easy against Ramos. The first time it's a well-timed double leg and he just gets taken right down. He does manage to get himself back up. But when he's striking, like, he's super wild. I mean, he whiffs on a lot of punches. He overextends himself a little bit. He's not like a clean, precise puncher. The problem is that most guys are going to have a striking advantage over Elkins because they're going to be faster than him, and I think Garagori, if it's mostly a stand-up battle, then he can have his moments. But I got to just think that Elkins goes and takes him down and grinds him into oblivion. The problem is that a lot of the lines I like on this card took a lot of money. The Elkins line hasn't overly taken a whole lot of money. Like, it opened at Elkins 225, and it's currently setting at Elkins 245. It's virtually not moved almost at all. Whereas all the other spots you like have been steamed because everyone's feeling the same thing. There's just like this aura to Elkins where you put him on your lines at minus 260, you add him to some parlays, you feel good about him. And, there's the possibility that, yeah, he's on a 4-fight losing streak for a reason. He's losing to good guys, but it's his slowness. It's his, his ring IQ questionable at times, his once legendary cardio kind of falling off the map. I got Elkins. I want to feel good about it. I just, for whatever reason, don't feel great about it. So this is one of those spots where that's where I bring in the odd squad. Like, what's the take here? You guys feel good about this one, or what are your opinions?
Well, I tell you what, I feel pretty good about it. Guru, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, man, I kind of feel like Elkins should get the win here. And like you said, I was watching Garagori, even his fight with Humberto Bandenay that you mentioned. He got taken down 4 or 5 times in that fight too. And Bandenay is a guy he's like a striker. He's not known to take down many people at all. So that was kind of alarming. And then in the Ramos fight, he got submitted in the first round. So you could clearly see, that's his deficiency is the grappling. And I don't know. I mean, Darren Elkins, maybe he's not as good as he once was. He's obviously on the feet. If they had like a kickboxing match, I would favor Garagori, but he's a real, sloppy guy. He doesn't look like he has a lot of composure in there. And Humberto Bandone is clearly the best guy he's beat. If you look at all the other people on his record, it's like a bunch of people that aren't very good. I don't think he's faced many guys that tried to grapple him. So I got to go with Darren Elkins here. I am pretty confident, but I mean, yeah, like you said, there is some red flags with Elkins, but I don't think Garagori is going to be the guy to, get it done unless he just lands like a perfect shot. So I think Elkins should definitely get the win.
I feel you. Locke, what do you feel about this?
Man, last week when I was just skimming the odds, I had a lot of people DM me and be like, dude, I had actually expressed a little bit of interest in Garagori because I didn't remember much about him. And I'm like, Darren Elkins, worse than minus 200 against anybody. That's probably a crime and a half. But once you actually run the tape itself, then you understand why he's at that high of a level. But still, I have this reservation of laying money minus 245 in a parlay or straight, whatever it is, on Darren Elkins, who in my opinion is, yeah, he should go out there and get the takedowns, and yeah, he should be able to ride Garagori on top. But those instances where this fight is on the feet, I am going to be absolutely shitting my pants. I don't want to see him on the feet at all. I think that he's going to, we know he's much slower. We know Garagori probably has the better hands, but then again, it's more power than it is technique, if anything. But Elkins should be able to take him down. He should be able to, duck any of those big shots that are coming his way, run a blast double, whatever it is, get this fight to the ground. But it's just my concern in terms of him being able to keep Garagori down. And then if we know his cardio is good, we know his durability is good, but one day somebody's going to clip him with something nasty and he's going to go out. And I'm scared that it could be any of his next fights. Like, you don't know when that switch is going to go. With Chuck Liddell, we had no idea when that switch was going to go. We don't know when this is going to go for Darren Elkins either. And it could even be like one of those just smaller shots where it doesn't Garagori doesn't even load up or anything. Like, I have no idea what it's going to be. Obviously, running the tape and given the facts that we have and hoping that Elkins' chin holds up, I fully expect Elkins to go out there and out-grapple this guy, take him down. But just my concern is his ability to keep him down. Will he be able to keep him down for all 3 rounds, unless he submits him or something like that? I'm not 100% sure, and I'm not willing to pay that minus 245 right now to find out if I'm correct or not. So the pick is Elkins, but Garagori is like one of those dogs that there are a couple dogs on this card where you're going to be like, okay, there should be value on this guy, but why bet on it? There's so many other fights. Why force a bet on a dog that you're not confident in and you're kind of convincing yourself that there's value on this guy? There's no value on Garagori in my opinion, but then again, I'm not willing to stick my neck out there for Darren Elkins right now. So the official pick is Darren Elkins via decision, but not the most confident in it. It seems like you guys have way more confidence than me.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I am fairly confident in Darren Elkins. I mean, the guy officially is on a 4-fight losing streak, but that last fight to Nate the Train he was in, man, that was a really close fight, and I think a lot of people ended up scoring it for Darren Elkins. So to go out there and put on a pretty decent performance, against an up-and-coming prospect that a lot of people are pretty high on, including my man Cody Safdie here, not bad, and really for me, the fight just breaks down to, yeah, Garagori, he could definitely catch him with a good shot. He could knock him out. He could take Darren Elkins out. The thing is, taking Darren Elkins out, man, that's a real task, Like you said, Locke, some point it's going to happen. I mean, Darren Elkins is 36 years old. He's getting up there, man. The time is ticking, and there's not a lot of, quality fights left in this dude's future, especially, being a featherweight. So for me, the pick is Elkins. I feel like Elkins would have to be completely shot and just have the worst fight IQ in the world to know that this fight needs to be just him putting the pressure on, working for the takedown, getting on top, looking for the sub, doing whatever it takes. I think Elkins should be able to win this fight, man. The other thing with Garagori is the record is so padded. I mean, you look at who this guy was fighting coming up, and, you look at the record, 13-1, pretty impressive. But as soon as he got in there with anyone on the level of a Ricardo Ramos, man, Ramos blew through this guy with ease. I think Darren Elkins is a good enough grappler to go in there and handle business. I got Darren Elkins in this one, and I'm fairly confident in him. I think he's lined pretty properly where he's at. So, next fight of the night, oh boy, and I like this one a lot. Marcos Rogerio de Lima going up against Alexander Romanov. Guru, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, this fight was supposed to happen for Romanov's debut, and it's crazy. I mean, when that line opened, I think it was like a pick'em, or it was like close to like a pick'em, and now he's like minus almost 500 at this point. Even the inside the distance is like minus 350 or something. But I mean, I still think Romanov is going to roll in this fight. I mean, when you just look at it stylistically, I mean, De Lima, doesn't really do well versus grapplers. When he gets taken down, he gets submitted. He is probably going to be the better guy on the feet and maybe a little bit quicker. If it gets into like the later rounds, maybe Romanov could be in some trouble, but I don't really see it happening, man. I think that, Romanov will probably get it done in the first round, roll through this fight like, people want him to. But yeah, the line, I wish we would have got the other line when it was like minus 110 or whatever it was. So yeah, it's weird that him beating Martinez changed the line that significantly. I guess maybe it's just people seeing him fight and all that, but yeah, I think he should get the win here.
There you go. Locke, how do you feel about it?
Man, this was my lock of the night play, the under 1.5. I love this spot for this. So the first time back in September when they're supposed to fight, I locked it in at minus 140. Now I had to settle with minus 190, and I'm completely okay with that still, especially after that performance Romanov had against Roque Martinez. And I know that went over 1.5, but I absolutely believe that Martinez is much more durable than De Lima. De Lima, he's looking for that check. He's looking to get out of there. And if he's not able to land that bomb nice and early, I think Romanov is easily going to be able to close the distance, get his paws on him, freaking flip him out of the cage if he needs to, whatever it is. He's going to get him down. He's going to get knee on belly. He's going to be ground and pounding this guy. That's why I'm a little bit concerned whether I should be going with the sub prop or the TKO prop. I have no confidence in either side because I feel like he could do it either way. But this is one of those fights, just like we were talking about in this last Elkins and Garagori fight, is people are trying to convince themselves that there's value on De Lima here. Don't be one of those guys, in my opinion. Like, yeah, the line is a little bit wide, and I absolutely agree with that. And yeah, maybe the reasoning as to him going out there and beating Roque Martinez means that he should be a minus 400 favorite now. I think people are just waiting to see, okay, is this guy able to translate that inside the octagon compared to, the rings he was fighting in over there in Russia or wherever he was fighting? Like the most legit win he has on the regional scene before coming to the UFC was against Virgil Zwicker. He just completely went in there and like dusted that guy. But then again, Virgil Zwicker is not like this crazy fighter either. But to go in there, do that to Roque Martinez. And the one thing that was so impressive to me is how easily he was able to get this guy off of his feet and slam him. That one thing alone was just like, okay, he's like belly to back suplexing this guy that's like 265, didn't even look like it hurt himself at all. And he's going out there and just like knee on bellying and just ground and pounding, just going from mount to side mount to just passes for days. I'm not sure how much he scored on DK that night, but he must have like put out so many numbers just with his passes alone. But yeah, I think you should absolutely go in there, dust De Lima off here. I love the under 1.5. I know a lot of people are a little bit hesitant on that. I'm not. I think Romanov goes in there. Either he gets first punch KO'd by Marcos Rogerio De Lima, just like he kind of planted Stefan Struve in their fights. He didn't finish him there, but that's like the only shot I see of Rogerio winning this fight. Otherwise, I think Romanov, once he closes that distance, and sorry, I think he gets a little bit too much flack for his striking. It's not the greatest, but seeing a guy his stature move the way he does is, you got to give him some credit there. The guy's going out there throwing some flying shit, throwing some spinning shit, but he has decent enough striking to be okay on the feet because, in my opinion, Marcos is one of those guys that's slow, plodding, looking to load up on his shots and really just try to tag you with something. I think that's not going to work here against Romanov. I think Romanov is going to see it coming from a mile away, duck under it, get his takedowns, and start to go to work from there. So I love him in the first round. If you want to get fancy, go in the second round, early second round. But I still think under 1.5 is a spot here. I love Romanov. I can't wait for him to keep fighting, keep ascending the heavyweight rankings. And luckily for him, it's a quick route to the top if you're able to go out there and get decisive finishes. And that's what I think he's absolutely going to get here against De Lima. So once again, I'm going with Romanov. Some sort of finish in the first round or early second round, but under 1.5 is my lock of the night play.
Sounds good to me, man. Cody Safdie, what do you think?
Yeah, so Romanov's my guy. It was a near even money fight the first time it got matched up, and it was like, oh, baby. And unfortunately, the MMA gods did not give it to us. They give us him versus Roque Martinez, and now everybody got to finally see what people like about Romanov. And man, this guy's got the goods. Honestly, he's one of those big heavyweights in that he weighs 265 pounds. He used to actually be a sumo wrestler in Japan. You know, the guy's a former Moldovan amateur wrestling champion. He's a big boy, but he moves so light on his feet. And as far as the striking goes, I honestly think he's making a lot of improvements. He's got a decent jab on him. He's got a good clubbing right hand. He likes to kick as well. Like, I think that he's just in there having fun. And then you see him versus Roque Martinez, and like he's King Kong punching this guy on the ground, very much having fun. At one point, he's sitting on him. And I remember thinking, like, if Roque knew what he was doing on the ground, that wouldn't work. Like, some guy who's good on the ground is going to beat him. But here's the thing. At heavyweight, there's not a whole lot of guys that are good on the ground. And even though De Lima's a BJJ black belt, it's like, nah, dog. He spent 4.5 minutes on top of Stefan Struve, and Struve is concussed from just getting dropped by a right hand. And, like, there was nothing to it. Like, as far as him being at heavyweight, he has monstrous power at 205. And, yeah, he knocked out Ben Sassoli his last time out of heavyweight. But, honestly, I don't think his heavyweight power is, like, translated nearly as much. Even if he does hit Romanov, I don't think it's as clear as just, like, oh, if he hits him once, it's over. Like, Romanov's be fine. At some point, Romanov gets a takedown. And therein lies the million-dollar question. Does Romanov score at least one takedown in this fight? Yeah, I would bet so. If Romanov scores one takedown in this fight, that's probably all he needs to win. So they reline this one at minus 300. That's the play. That's your lock of the week. I completely agree with that. And now it's 5-1, and I actually agree with that price tag as well. But you can't really bet it straight up anymore, so you're gonna have to make a parlay material. And heavyweights be heavyweights, but hopefully that's not one of these cases. Hopefully he just goes out there, lands a few strikes, takes him down, grinds him. Even if it's not that under one round, like even if it gets to that second round, that's when De Lima is going to be absolutely gassed, like he was in the Struve fight, and then it'll be real easy money if it gets outside of the first round. But even if Romanov just takes him down right off the get-go, De Lima's not one to explode back up to his feet. Romanov's cardio looked good against Martinez. Count me in. The last thing I want to say here is that this kid's 29. I'm going to call him a kid because he's 29 years old, right? And where that's super important is Stipe Miocic, champion, he's 38. Francis Ngannou, whoa, that's the up-and-comer. Man, he's 34 years old. Alistair Overeem, 40s. Rosenstruck, he's young, right? 32. Derrick Lewis, 35. Junior Dos Santos, Alexei Olenek, Alexander Volkov, 32. Being 29 puts him right with Curtis Blades in that there's nobody fighting at the high level as a heavyweight in the UFC that's young and has no mileage on them. Curtis Blades is racking up that much. This guy's not fought nobody. He's taken no damage. He's young. He's getting better. He's going to factor into this division. This should be like a coming out party. If that last fight wasn't his coming out party, he should thrash Marcos Rogerio de Lima, and the UFC should give him a couple more softies, but that's not how the UFC operates. You'll probably see him fight somebody with a name or somebody with a ranking next to them after he puts on a showcase here.
Yeah, well, I tell you guys what, man. For me, this was, like you said, lock. It's the lock for me, man. Stylistically speaking, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that fits into Romanov's style. I mean, Romanov's going to have this guy airborne in no time. For me, De Lima, this fight screams puncher's chance, and that's it. I mean, every avenue to victory here, outside of eating a big shot, and sleeping Romanov, it's just all Romanov. And I expect this fight to be all one-way traffic, Alexander Romanov, pure domination. I'm extremely confident in him. I got him parlayed up. What is there to say, man? I like the under 1.5. I like Romanov any way you cut it. I'm super high on the guy. Great prospect. Can't wait to see him. Already a big fan. Only one fight in the UFC. Let the train roll on. Locke, you got something you want to add to that?
Yeah, one thing I do want to clear up about Romanov too, it seems like he's been spending a lot of time down there in Maryland wrestling with a bunch of like college kids and like college wrestlers and stuff. So yeah, I think he's getting in some solid work too in terms of making sure his wrestling is at the top of its game rather than just going in there and just hoping that his guy falls over. But he's putting in some solid work with his wrestling for sure. So I'm really excited about the potential this kid has moving on past this fight.
Yeah. Alrighty. Speaking of moving on, Giga Chikadze going up against Jamey Simmons. Locke, can you get us started on this one?
Man, this one was interesting to get into. So Jamey Simmons, or his actual name, James Krause Simmons, it's weird because a lot of people thought the Morgan Sickinger fight was his last fight, which was last December. But then he comes out and I think with an interview with James Lynch, he lets us know that his last fight was actually against Sean West just about less than a month ago. But if most people remember Sean West, he's pretty famous for being that guy that who was a Boston Salmon absolutely illegally and made it look like he killed him or something like that. But a lot of Sean West's finishes or losses have come via submission. Pretty much 10 out of 11 of his losses, I believe 10 out of 12 of his losses have come via submission. Jamey Simmons goes out there and rear naked chokes him within a minute and a half. So nothing really to take from that fight, in my opinion. He's going to be undersized here. I believe he's 5'6". Giga Chikadze is like 6 foot. And we've kind of seen this before when Giga Chikadze fought Erwin Rivera. However, I believe Erwin Rivera would probably beat the brakes off of Jamey Simmons here. I know Jamey Simmons has a wrestling background or anything like that, but it doesn't really seem like it translates much in his MMA game. Like I'm seeing him take some guys down, but he doesn't really do a good job of holding these guys down either. And he's getting reversed pretty easy by some of these guys who, in my opinion, are like, a quarter of the talent that's in the UFC. I'm not fully impressed with this kid. And I think this is a very tough one for him to chew off. So he's only fought 135 once in his life. That's probably the only division he should be fighting at given his size. He's coming in here once again undersized against Giga Chikadze, who is obviously miles better than him on the feet. And I believe that Giga Chikadze will be successful in keeping this fight on the feet. And that's where he should probably come back with the first ever UFC finish in his career. I think this is a prime spot for him to go out there and get that, because I'm not even that confident in Simmons' gas tank either. I think he might get one takedown at the beginning of the fight, but after that, I think it's going to get harder and harder and harder. And then Giga Chikadze is just going to beat him up more and more and more on the feet. So I think this is a prime spot for Giga to get a finish. I was hoping to get minus 150 inside the distance on Giga before it even opened on Bookmaker and Pinnacle. Those lines already are up to like minus 180, minus 200 or something like that. But yeah, I think this is a spot for Giga to roll, for him to get his first UFC finish and show that he probably deserved that Arnold Allen fight. I'm not sure what's up with Allen, because I believe they were supposed to they're scheduling them to fight together, but Allen wanted somebody in the rankings, and I kind of understand that, but read the room, dude. Like, Giga is on a little bit of a run now. People are talking about him. If you go out there and beat a guy like this, you kind of take his steam. It's kind of like the whole Khamzat Chimaev thing. You know what I mean? Like, just take his hype. He's not ranked. Just take his hype. Giga Chikadze has fought a couple of times during this these COVID times, and his last victory over Omar Morales, probably his best victory in the UFC to date, especially with how much hype was coming in on Omar Morales into that fight. So, this should be another easy win for Giga, in my opinion. He might get taken down in the first round, but I think he should be able to survive, get back to his feet. And we have seen improvements. Let's not forget about the Jamal Emmers fight, where he reversed Jamal Emmers, and that one was okay. I'm like, all right, this guy is trying to turn the corner with his MMA game. Jamal Emmers is a solid guy with solid wrestling, decent top pressure, but to get easily reversed in that position was very concerning to me, especially being somebody that wants to go out there and fade Giga Chikadze every single time he fights. And I haven't done it officially, but yeah, I have laid some money against Giga Chikadze in the past. But this one should be easy for him. I think he goes out there, he rolls. I think the over-under is set at 1.5. I'm not confident on playing either side here, because I don't know if it's going to be a quick finish, an accumulation of punishments, but I do think Giga rolls here, and I do think we get him his first finish inside the UFC.
There you go. Cody Saptic, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting fight considering Giga Chikadze is 4-0 in the UFC now, and he's been fighting kind of increasingly better guys every time out. And then this is literally the lowest level fight he's had in the UFC. Like, Brandon Davis can wrestle and is cast iron with his durability. Like, that's a fun fight. That Jamal Emmers wrestled collegiately and is a good grappler and has fought in high profile fights for big organizations, regional scene, makes it to the UFC. The Omar Morales fight, that was the one that really keyed in for me, because listen, I'll agree. I am the one to try to fade Giga Chikadze. And the assumption always here is that, oh man, listen, he's a glory kickboxer. He's 32 years old. Not a wrestler, can't wrestle. Takedown defense, super subpar. His grappling's not great. He's just a kickboxer, and he's not even a power puncher. The guy, when you look at his glory career, not like he's murdering guys. Not like he's taking them out. Look at all the guys he fought in MMA on the regional scene. Just 0-16 and 0-4. Like, I love to just harp at this guy, but I can't deny, man, like, making improvements. He really is. You can tell he's trying to, he's physically trying to stuff the takedowns. Whether he's trying to pull the elbows up, he's trying to break the lock, he's trying to break your hands, he's trying to free his hip up, he's trying to turn, he's trying to peel you off the cage, he's trying to create some separation. It's like, you know what? He's clearly going to wrestling practice, and he's clearly working on it. When he does get taken down, he gets back up. It's not like wrestling has been his issue so far in the UFC. His issue is that his opponents tend to fight just the worst game plans against him. But maybe there's something to that. Maybe they're so worried. Maybe I say, oh, he's a decision machine. And they're sitting in there like, dude, he kicked me in the body 2 minutes ago, and I think I shit my pants. Like, I can't even move around. Like, I don't know what they're going through. But these guys aren't looking to throw down with him. Now, his last fight against Omar Morales, for a guy that's a decision precision machine. He tried to knock him out. He threw the kitchen sink at him, man. Right, even from the first round. I honestly believed he'd gas out after the first round and Omar Morales would take over in 2 and 3, just because he was throwing everything into his strikes. But it carried over. In the second round, when it looked like he was tired, didn't matter. He hurt Omar Morales. In the third round, where I thought, okay, Omar, this is your chance to go, Omar Morales dominated him, 10-8 round him, and almost knocked him out. Or sorry, Giga Chikadze all on Omar Morales, like absolutely just toyed with him in there by the end. It was like guys making improvements. And now you only signed a 4-fight contract with the UFC as an entry level. So now you got your second deal, which you just signed for more money, because he's actually made 10 and 10 his first fight, 12 and 12 second fight. His listed payout for his third fight's 14 and 14, 16 and 16. Guy haven't really been making a whole lot of money in the UFC. Hopefully he signed a good deal here. And yet they've given him someone that he should just go and have a showcase win over. That if he's supposed to be factored in this division, he needs to go out there and absolutely wipe Jamey Simmons, who, no offense to Jamey Simmons, but at 5'6", he's severely undersized to fight 6-foot Giga Chikadze. His striking, it looks really stiff and rigid, man. And he's taking on world-class Kyokushin karate world champion Giga Chikadze. It's like, okay, that's not going to go good. Well, what about that wrestling? You know, we mentioned he had a background. Like, I don't know, man. You watch his amateur fights, or you watch his previous regional scene fights. Like, he's fights really, really low level guys. Like, no offense to Sickinger, but he's got 13 pro losses. 7 of them were by knockout, or 7 of them are by finish. You know, his last loss against Sean West, everybody finishes Sean West. All these guys he finishes them pretty quick, and they're used to getting finished. Giga was fighting guys like that too, and he was finishing them too. It's now Giga's made that transition in the UFC and looks good. And this kid, I'm not so sure. And honestly, my last take on this, the kid's got an afro, and that's going to be a bad news against a pinpoint accurate striker like Giga, because there's just too much to look at. You know? You got to be able to slip off the point and move your head, man. Why do you think Bruce Leroy started being like, I'm going to get away from this? Giga's going to line him up with a Giga kick to the body, stun this guy, hurt him, put him away. But because he's got so many decisions on his record, I don't love betting him inside the distance, and you'd have to bet a prop at this point. It opened up at like minus 475 Giga. That was fair, but that's as high as you'd want it. Now that it's minus 800, like I don't even want Giga at that price. Even though I think he rolls here, even though I think there should be smooth sailing, like, I don't want him at 8. What's there to gain? Even adding him to parlays, is it really going to add that much value? I don't think so. So, yeah, Giga Chikadze definitely the pick. Value blown up out of proportion by this point. As far as a prop, not super confident on either side, but I lean towards him getting his first finish, because like the Omar Morales fight was this close, and Omar Morales is a legitimate, I wouldn't say prospect, he's 34, but a legitimate fighter, right? Like he's already proven his worth, whereas Jamey Simmons has got a long way to go, and this is a tough outing for him.
There you go. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they broke it down pretty much. When you look at, Jamey Simmons fights, I mean, he had one fight in LFA too, where he got knocked out with a knee in like 13 seconds, shooting for a takedown. I think both of his losses, he got finished in the first round. The other one was against a guy who was 0-0. He's only 1-0. He never fought again. So to me, that wasn't really a good look either. That was in like 2018, but Simmons, like you guys said, he seems like he's like pretty athletic, like quick. I saw him like knock out this dude with a pretty nice straight right hand, and has some okay wrestling. But yeah, I just think Giga's just way too good on the feet, man. I don't think that Simmons is gonna be able to take him down and control him. I've seen him get swept or versed by guys that are a lot lower level than Chikadze, even on the ground. I mean, I think Giga has shown he's gotten a little bit better on the ground. So I mean, Simmons, I just don't see a lot of path to victory for him. I don't know. I wish Giga would have fought someone better like Arnold Allen, like you were saying, because this fight to me, it doesn't really make sense besides, just I guess maybe the UFC wants Giga to get his first finish. But, yeah, I mean, I think, obviously Giga should roll here.
Yeah, well, hey, mark me down for Giga Chikadze as well. I mean, I'm going to keep this short and simple. Giga Chikadze, to me, when I look at this matchup, this feels like his easiest fight in the UFC thus far. And we've got a guy that's like learning on the job, continuously getting better. But I'm going to put it like this. This is how I sum up the fight. If you're going to go out there and look that good against an undefeated Omar Morales and then follow it up a month later and lose to a Jamey Simmons, that will literally blow my mind. I don't see it happening. I got Giga all day. I don't even care where the fight goes. I think he's good enough at this point to handle a dude as undersized as Simmons was at weigh-ins. I mean, Giga Chikadze is a full head taller than this guy. They look a weight class or two apart. Give me Giga Chikadze. Easy pick. Okay, hey, one thing I want to talk about too, man. The guy's name's Afro Samurai. How embarrassing, man. You show up to weigh-ins today and you don't even have the best afro. Max Griffin just blows him out of the water. That's a bad omen. Giga Chikadze. All right. And in this, I tell you what, we are actually up to our last prelim fight already. We're going to be going live again with another stream immediately after this, covering the main card. Be sure to catch that when we wrap this one up. But here we go. Last fight of prelims. We've got Trevin Giles going up against Devon Lewis. Cody Safdie, can you get us going?
Yeah, I don't got a great lean on this one just because both guys got promise in spots and then just third round gas tank not there. They don't pull it in big spots. When it's like a gut check moment, they just don't come through clear to the other side. And they're both guys that you would consider fade material. At this point with Trevin Giles, it's like there's spots that you would bet. There's opponents in the UFC you'd bet him against, sure, but you'd never really feel great about it. I mean, he's really got to go and get that finish within the first 2 rounds, or he just kind of fades away. Both of his losses coming by that late finish, guillotine choke. I thought in the Zach Cummins fight, he also got hurt badly, got stunned by Cummins in the 3rd round, which led to the submission. You know, on one hand, you'd like to think that, hey, these are performances that you learn from that. He looked good through 2 rounds, and he got tired in the 3rd round, and then now he's clinging a little bit in the 2nd round, but he makes it through to the other side. Maybe he's going to get better. Maybe he's going to make those improvements. Maybe he's going to go down to Fortis MMA and put in a great camp and improve. But you know what? He's also a full-time police officer, and I honestly do think he's one of these guys that his job probably gets a little bit in the way, because being a cop is just like a tough job on its own, and being able to train for just recreationally, you know, devoting time to train recreationally, that'd be one thing. But to be fighting at the highest level of MMA, like, that's a completely different animal. And fighting James Krause, who took the fight on 24 hours notice, was it 24? Might have been like 12 hours notice. James Krause takes this fight. James Krause, who's a lightweight, you know, likes to hang out welterweight from time to time because it's easier for him, fights him at middleweight and fights him tooth and nail, man. Like, I can't get behind Trevin Giles. So you know what? Let's go Bevon Lewis. But then as you say that, and by the way, the pick for me is Bevon Lewis. But as you say that, it's like the same situation with Bevon Lewis. Like, what exactly is he good at? Is he a wrestler? Is he a striker? He actually completes next to 0 takedowns in his fights. He grinds guys against the cage. Is he a cage control guy? Is he a cardio guy? No, because he's getting tired too. And it's like he loses to lesser caliber talent. And, you know, I feel like you buy into more of the Bevon Lewis that it's like, oh, dude, he trains at Jackson's. You know, he's one of these guys like Phil Haas or like John Jones because he's in the room with great guys. You want to believe that he's better than he is, but he just hasn't like shown us a ton to go by. The Uriah Hall fight, which is his UFC debut, they throw him right to the Wolves. And he gives a wicked good account of himself through 2 rounds and then gets Uriah Hall in the 3rd. No problem. It's that I wouldn't call it regression. It's the absolutely 0 improvements in the fights since then. It's just like he's plateaued almost. And I don't want to believe he is plateaued, but he's not super young either. So maybe that's as good as he is. As far as I see this fight going, I think that Trevin Giles is a better striker. Trevin Giles could outstrike him theoretically, but Bevon Lewis is a little bit faster, a little bit longer, should be able to maybe beat him with a punch. But honestly, Bevon Lewis just wears against this guy, up against the cage, wins at least one of the first 2 rounds, and then Giles tends to get a lot more tired and desperate in the 3rd. Maybe Bevon Lewis just clings to something. This is a bad fight. I got to go in the distance. That's like the best prop I see out of it. But probably a pass is probably your smartest move. But as far as, you know, giving picks on every one of these fights, I'm going to take ever so slightly Bevon Lewis by decision.
Sounds about right to me. Guru, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't like betting on a guy like Trevin Giles, who's almost like a part-time fighter. You know, like I heard a lot of his interviews, and he's talking about even the interviews before the Holland fight. He was saying that he had like a couple months where he couldn't even go to the gym at all. He didn't train at all, and then he was saying that he only trains once a day, so he knows that when he goes there, he has to like make the most out of it because he knows people are training more than him. So he already has that in his head too. So, I mean, I just feel like when you look at the fight, Bevon Lewis is going to be a lot bigger. I will say I feel like when you watch that Uriah Hall fight and the fights before, Bevon Lewis was a guy that was super aggressive, would come forward, you know, look for the knockout, do a lot of like lead hooks, like to get in the clinch and mix it up. And it seems like since then, the 2 fights since then, he got a lot more timid and didn't really want to like exchange and strike as much anymore. So you kind of saw that, you know, in his last 2 fights. And in his fight with Daquan Townsend, I mean, just kind of held him against the cage, controlled him, did what he had to do to get the win. But I just feel like, you know, he's the guy that's training full time. I think he is the better athlete and the bigger fighter. And Trevin Giles, man, I mean, he's just super low volume, doesn't really do very much. And I feel like I mean, if he can get on top of Devon Lewis or take his back, I mean, maybe he could submit him or something like that. But I don't see him trying to shoot for a takedown. He never really does. And I just see him getting tired. I mean, you've seen him get finished twice in the third round. Even in this fight with James Krause, like you're saying, it was like a 50-50 fight. A lot of people thought Krause won the fight. So I just feel like Lewis is the safer pick, but I don't have any confidence to like lay money on him or anything like that. So just a total pass for me, but I got to go with Lewis. I just think he's the better athlete and, like more disciplined and like, invested in the sport. So
definitely. Locke, what do you think, man?
Both these guys killed it. They're absolutely correct. This is the perfect time to match up both of these guys because we can't really get the best feel on them, whether they're shot at this point or they never really were what we thought they were going to be. There was a little bit of hype on Bevon Lewis coming into the UFC, being a Jackson's guy, like Cody said. But I believe before his last fight against Daquan Townsend, he actually left Jackson's and he's gone down to Georgia now. He's gotten rid of his Instagram page. He's just completely off the map now, training over there in Georgia. I'm not sure exactly who his teammates or anything are, but it seems like it was something mental for him, probably that he thought he needed to address to go down there to Georgia. I believe that's his home state as well. But you can't really take much from a fight against a guy like Daquan Townsend, who pretty much just allows opponents to beat him. I mean, he doesn't even do much in return to try and get victories. He just lets them beat him. Like I could go up there and push Daquan Townsend up there for 15 minutes and get a decision. You know what I mean? So there's not much to really take away from that fight for Bevon Lewis. Like in that Uriah Hall fight, he looked great in the first 2 rounds. When he looks good, he looks great. But there's so many little instances of that you can't really bet on that to be like, okay, this is something we can bang on for 15 minutes consistently against a guy like Trevin Giles, who seems like he's falling off a cliff himself too. The line is absolutely accurate. Like -110, I'm seeing a little bit more love for Bevon Lewis. -115, still pretty much a pick 'em, right? But I do lean Lewis. I praise anybody to have the balls to go out there and bet either side here. I think, like Cody said, the best spot here probably is the over 2.5. Even at -200, these guys haven't really been ones to really go out there and get finished, or get finishes, I should say. And the one really alarming thing about me for Trevin Giles is I want to go back to that James Krause fight. I'm totally one of those people that believe that James Krause won that fight. He won round 1. He won round 3. And to lose round 3 to a guy that literally took the fight on less than 24 hours notice is very, very concerning to me. James Krause is not one of those guys that goes out there and balloons up to like 200 pounds, then comes back. He's always in the gym. He's one of those main guys at Glory Kickboxing, Glory Fitness and MMA, whatever the hell it's called. That's always in there helping his guys. He's a cornerman for pretty much all of the guys that go out there and compete. And he's one of their main training partners too. But there's a different thing when you're actually like training for a fight and wanting to peak at a certain moment and having your cardio on point. And you tell me Trevin Giles can go out cardio a guy like James Krause who just took this fight on less than 24 hours notice? Why would I want to go out there and put my money on a guy like that? There's no way. Absolutely no way. Hit me, Cody. What do you got?
Yeah, well, just to throw on top of all of that, so Trevin Giles, born in San Antonio, fighting out of Houston, that card took place in Houston, right? So he would have really had to have done something bad to lose in Texas, dude, where I will stand by that is the second worst commission next to Ontario. Yeah, man, just honestly bad. Yeah, bad. That against Krause, a lightweight in 12 hours notice. I think we're on the same page here.
I believe Joe Solis is definitely one of those that was that judge that was the deciding one because he didn't give him round 1, right? That's all it was.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. Doesn't give him round 1. Like rewatch the fight. What are you watching?
Are you kidding me?
The whole time. Anyways.
That was the dumbest thing. And that literally, that one card would have changed the whole fight, and we would have gotten James Krause coming off a W right now. But yeah, don't bet on Trevin Giles, ladies and gentlemen. Don't bet on him. And equally, you can't even trust Bevon Lewis either. So just pass on this fight. There's fights that are meant to be passed, and this is one of them.
Yeah, definitely. Absolute and total pass. Like you guys said, you're confident on one side of this fight. You might be a little bit of a madman, but I tell you what, I'm with you guys, man. I got Bevon Lewis in this fight. And again, it's not because Bevon Lewis is just blowing me away and I can't believe this guy's skill set. I mean, that last fight against Daquan Townsend was bad. Like, he literally just held Daquan Townsend up against the cage. The judges just literally go, well, this guy was the one holding someone against the cage, and this guy was being held against the cage. I guess we have to give it to the guy who's holding the other guy, right? It was crazy, man. So the Trevin Giles, hobbyist, part-time fighter, you know what I'm saying? Like, How can we take this guy? A guy who said his heart stopped multiple times lately. I'm not taking a guy who's recently died in a UFC fight. You know, I don't care if he is fighting Devon Lewis. I got Devon Lewis in this one. Not a tough pick. So with that being said, man, that is a wrap on the prelims. Be sure to bounce right back here. We are going live yet again to break down this main card. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, check out Odds HQ, odds.com. I got my man Prediction Guru, Lock of the Night, Cody Saftik. We're out of here, but we will be right back. Be on the lookout for that. We're coming right back. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in just a minute.